symbols of worship ready to put on the table. As we place the Bible, we think of God the Father. Father, we are here for you. As we place the cross, we think of God's Son, Jesus. Jesus, we are here for you. And as we place the candle, we think of God the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, we are here for you. Now, as you know, our theme for this term is forgiveness. The story today is called The Unforgiving Servant. One day, Jesus had said to Peter, "Peter, you are my rock on which I will build my church." The problem with Peter's rock is it had an awful lot of sharp edges to it. You could get really scratched. Peter had a dreadful temper. If you crossed him or wronged him or said something about him that he didn't like, he would explode. Bang! And you would know about it, and so would everyone else. But Peter knew that he shouldn't have a temper like that he needed to be more patient, kind, and forgiving. But how could that happen? How could he change the way that he was? And he thought, one person could help me do this, and only one person, and that was Jesus. So Peter prepared himself to go and ask advice from Jesus. He wanted to impress him, so he was going to say something about his intentions, what he was going to do, how he was going to be, so it made Jesus very pleased with him. Now, he'd been thinking about this while he'd been walking round Jesus in huge circles, trying to get the right words in the right order. Jesus obviously knew that he was walking around and said, "Peter, what troubles you?" And Peter said, Master, it's about forgiveness. How many times should I forgive someone who has wronged me? Now, Peter normally didn't give any forgiveness at all, or maybe just once. So he's going to impress Jesus by saying 7 times. Jesus, how many times should I forgive someone who's been naughty, has been telling fibs about me? How many times? I think it should be 7. Jesus said 7. Peter was really pleased. Jesus was obviously really impressed. Peter's face turned into a smug smile. But then Jesus said, 7? Only 7? No. It should be 70 times 7. 70 times 7? But that, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 3 sevens. That's I don't really know, thought Peter. To be fair, Peter hadn't been to school. He was a fisherman. And when the nets came in, he didn't count the fish. It was either a full net, or half a net, or an empty net. Jesus could see the panic in Peter's eyes and said, "Peter, sit down. I have a story for you, and it may help." In a faraway country, there was a king. He was a powerful king and a wealthy king. His name was King Malik. He had a glittering palace, and underneath the palace were 3 cellars. One cellar, the smaller one, was full of bronze and copper coins. And the second cellar, which was a bit bigger, was full of chests of silver coins. And then the third cellar, which was the bigger cellar, was full of chests full of gold spilling out from the top. He was rich because he was careful with his money, but he was also kindly, and he was very happy for his servants to lend money from him as long as they paid him back all the money and on the day. Agreed. And that day was today. You could tell. First of all, there were lots of guards around. They looked taller than normal, and their spears longer, and their sharp edges glinted in the sun. It could be scary. And the second thing that made you know that this was the day that the money was to be paid is there was a long line of servants all standing together with their caskets full of money to pay off their debt. They were all ready to see the king, apart from one, Ezra. He did not have the money to pay the king, even though he owed him thousands of pounds. So Ezra had his casket. He had it ready, but there was very little money in it. As Ezra approached the throne, his eyes bulged with fear, and his teeth chattered, and his knees knocked together. His tongue was tied, and he couldn't say anything. All he could do was open his casket and show the single coin. King Malak said, "What?" And his voice rumbled and thundered around the royal chamber. "Is that all? You owe me thousands of pounds." "You shall be sold," he said, leaping out of his throne. "But your majesty, my wife and my children." "They shall be sold too. That's one way of getting my money back that you owe me," said Malak. Ezra fell to his knees, bowed his head and put his hands in front of him. "Please, sire, please forgive me. I have been a foolish fellow. I have gambled my money away and it's been taken by evil men. But my wife, she's a hard-working woman. She's done nothing wrong. My children, they are innocents. Please." King Malak was rich, mighty, and kindly. And he said, "I hear your plea, and although you are a foolish man, your wife and children are innocent. Today I will forgive you all of your debt, and you may go. You may go a free man." Ezra couldn't believe his ears. "Oh, sire, majesty, you are so kind, so generous, so forgiving." "True enough," said Malak, "but if you don't go now, I may change my mind," he said with a twinkle in his eyes. Ezra leapt up, rushed out of the royal chamber and into the courtyard outside. Fellow servants had seen what had happened and rushed up to him and patted him on the back. "How lucky you are! How forgiving the king is! You owed him thousands of pounds and he let you off." They patted him on the back. Ezra was laughing. The tears had stopped almost straight away. And then Ezra saw somebody out of the corner of his eye. Ishmael. Ishmael was a young man who owed him just a few pennies. Ezra shrugged off the other servants and rushed over to Ishmael, grabbing him by the throat. "You owe me 3 pennies, he shouted. And then he slapped him across the face. Now, that action, that slap, had caused Ezra to go off balance, and so Ishmael was able to push him away. What did Ishmael do? Did he run? Did he try to escape? No. He fell onto his knees, and he bowed his head, and he clasped his hands in front of him, just like Ezra had done. And he said, "Please forgive me. Forgive me, Ezra. We've just had a newborn child. We had to buy him swaddling clothes. And then the child was ill. We had to buy medicine. I did not have the pennies to pay you back. Forgive me. I will work hard to pay you back as soon as I possibly can." "Pah!" said Ezra. "You heard him, God. Look at him. He owes me 3 pennies, and he's not paid it. You heard it. You must take him to the dungeons." The guards had no choice. Ishmael had admitted that he owed Ezra the money, and Ezra was cross, and Ezra was not going to forgive him. So they took Ishmael away and put him in the prison. Now the servants who had been patting Ezra on the back, who had been so pleased for Ezra, were shocked by what they had seen. How could he do such a thing? He had owed King Malek thousands of pounds and had been forgiven. Ishmael owed him 3 pennies, just 3 pennies, and he would not forgive him. They turned and rushed back to the king. Sire, sire, your majesty, please listen to us. You forgave Ezra thousands of pounds and let him go, and yet he will not forgive young Ishmael just 3 pennies. What? Thundered King Malek. He was so angry. Guards, bring Ezra before me. The guards rushed out, got Ezra and threw him down in front of the throne. I forgave you thousands of pounds, said King Malek, and yet you cannot forgive a young man 3 pennies? Guards, take him to the dungeons, find the darkest, find the deepest, and throw him in. And then get the keys and throw them away. Jesus sat back, took a deep breath, and then looked Peter in the eyes. Do you understand, Peter? Did you understand the story? Peter looked back in Jesus' eyes. Peter said, "It's not 7 times, is it, Peter?" Peter laughed. 7 times? That's not nearly enough. And that's the end of our story. But we need to think about the story. Let's get this. We need to think about the story, and there are some questions that we might want to ask about it. For instance, if Ezra, well, he's the nasty servant. Now, if Ezra had asked for God for forgiveness, what do you think God would have said, given our story and given what Jesus was trying to teach Peter? What about Ezra's children and his wife? Do you think that King Malek would have forgiven them? Forgiveness. What about you? Have you said sorry to people to ask for forgiveness? Have you forgiven people? It could be your friends, it might be at school, it might be at home. You might want to think about it. This is your chance this term, isn't it? To think about those things. Now, people may say to you, I forgive you. You may say, I forgive you. But I must admit, I don't often say things like that. Now, the word's really important. It's one of our Christian values, and it was in the story all the time. But normally, what would we say if somebody says, I'm sorry? You might say, oh, it's okay. Or you might say, it's all right, don't you worry about it. Now, they didn't include the word forgiveness, but that's what they were. They were different ways of saying, I forgive you. Can you think of any of your own? Might be worth thinking about, just in case you do have to say, I forgive you, but in your own words. And finally, in terms of the story, Jesus said that 7 times was not nearly enough, and Peter realised that too. And Jesus said it should be 70 times 7 times, which is 490. 490? Do you think that's what Jesus meant? 490? I think he meant something else. What do you think? And now we turn to our prayers. If you're not going to sort of pray along with us, maybe you want to look at the candle, or even the cross, or the candle. And I know the candle doesn't look as though it's on, but I can assure you it is. Anyway, our prayers. Dear God, I am sorry when I lose my temper with my friends. I am sorry when I do not tell the truth at home or at school. Will you please forgive me? Thank you that you always forgive us when we come to you asking for your forgiveness and help. I sometimes have a hard time forgiving my family and my friends. I know that I should always forgive. Please give me your love in my heart so I can forgive as you have forgiven me. Thank you that you love everyone. Help me to share your love with my friends and family. Amen. And now we finish with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. And that's the end of today's worship. So, bye now.